Welcome back to the Behind the Well show. I'm your host, Roger Abel, back to Elias Randall. Elias, we're getting ready to kick off spring break. I don't know when this is going to air, but probably sometime around there. Where are you headed?
Every year for spring break, we go to see my brother and sister-in-law. They live in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area.
Pretty low
we
key.
do a
No traffic.
Really extravagant spring break travel for us. We go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which I love it. I like it there.
We typically go for spring break. Well, we've been going to Minneapolis to go to the Great Wolf Lodge, Mall of America. But we have an LPL event. The Masters Conference falls over spring break this year, so we're headed to Palm Springs. My oldest daughter does not love the heat. I have not broke it to her yet, but it is going to be 105 degrees the entire time we're there.
Sounds nice. I like the heat. The hotter, the better.
In fact, before the show, I shared with you guys, I asked my daughter, because now she's 10. She's going to be 10 here in like 2 weeks. Getting to the point where she has an opinion and she kind of knows where different places are. And I said, what vacations do you want to take? She goes, I want to go to Hawaii. I want to go to Paris, and I want to go to Minnesota. I go, why do you want to go to Minnesota? She goes, because it's cold and there's lots of snow. I'm like, well, maybe we should just go out to Colorado and go to the mountains if we're going to be doing that. So one of my daughters loves the cold, loves the snow, hates the heat. So we'll see how she does on spring break.
That's a pretty standard travel list, right? I want to go to Hawaii, Paris, and Minnesota. That's pretty standard.
I like, though, what you're doing. And the reason we always go to Minneapolis over spring break, we don't have to fight all the spring break travelers. Nobody's going where it's cold over spring break.
We were invited. So a friend of mine, and we thought about doing it. We almost did it, but what kept me is the travel. So we have some friends that are getting an Airbnb somewhere in Florida, big house, a couple different families are showing up. And although that would be fun, the thought of getting all 5 people in my family through the airport, I don't enjoy it. That part's not fun. When I compare that to we all hop in the minivan and drive, I think we can make it to where the neighborhood they live in 4.5, under 5 hours. That's with a stop. I'm pretty sure it's right about 5.
I would think it's less than that, but maybe.
Well, we'll stop at least once. And it'll be a little bit longer. Now, if we don't stop at all, I think it could be even closer to 4. But anyway, very minimal travel. Gonna have our own vehicle. And that's really that was the main reason I did not want to do the Florida trip, was much bigger commitment travel wise. It's called spring break. It's supposed to be a break, right? Well, if we go to Florida, that's going to be work. Might as well call it spring break, work, vacation, major project to get us there, have fun the whole time, get us back.
What's Bryce, 3?
3, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough age to travel because you still need car seats, still need all that stuff. We're just to the point where we don't have to have car seats anymore.
Yeah, it needs a car seat. Probably, I don't think you can. What's the age of the lap child in the airplane? Probably got to buy a seat for him, but then he's going to sit on mom and dad's lap anyway.
Well, I just, for us, we just never wanted to do many of those trips when you had to do a car seat. You can't get a Uber. You can't jump in a cab that easy. It's just a bunch of prearranged travel you have to do. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But now we're loosening up a little bit. Elias, I was reading an article on MSN the other day, and it 100% underscores why people can do investments themselves and they'll get an outcome, but it may not be an optimal outcome or the outcome that they actually wanted. And just a little backstory on this. This is about a gentleman who had $3,000 of home repairs. And he ended up selling $49,000 in stock, which inadvertently gave him an additional $4,000 tax bill, and he didn't mean to do it. because he clearly didn't know exactly what he was doing. It basically triggered $19,000 in long-term gains. And when he called he was utilizing a very well-known brokerage house. When he called to see if he could undo it, they said, there's no way to undo it. Once you click the trade button, you're not undoing it. There's no, I made a mistake. And most of these systems have multiple levels of verification. You have to say yes, yes, yes before you do it. But after he figured out he's going to owe this in tax, he's like, man, how do I undo this? And this is one of the reasons having a financial advisor is really important. They can help you make decisions like this. If you had a $3,000 home repair, you could have sold $4,000 of stock to cover it and had a little extra left.
It seems like a costly click that had some real consequences that came with it. Now, what I will say is it definitely is a mistake. It's hard to, whatever platform they're on, there's no way you just click one button and make a trade. There's definitely, they teed up the trade and then confirmed that they wanted to do it. I don't think this was a one-click mistake. You definitely had to choose 2 or 3 items to get to the place where you are actually placing the trade. And I think this article does a good job of pointing out, and I think it is one of the takeaways is, yeah, you made a mistake. So, is that, how often does this happen? Or I guess a question I would have is, do you think there's people do-it-yourselfers trading in a non-qualified account, and do they know that there will be taxes? I think that'd be a bigger mistake. At least this person knew there was going to be taxes associated with this and could figure it out. Do you think there's people trading and they don't understand how it's impacting their tax liability?
I'm going to say yes, but those are also probably fairly small accounts that the tax liability is probably negligible.
There's no sophisticated traders. Yeah.
No
one trading with any meaningful amount of money.
There you go. If you're putting meaningful money at play, you probably understand the tax consequences. Now, is there somebody out there on a small platform trading $50 at a time that doesn't? Yeah, 100%. But meaningful money understands what the tax consequences are going to be. I think a lot of people are apprehensive to work with financial advisors because there are a lot of myths around what financial advisors can do or what people can do on their own. And there's really 3 common myths that are out there. And one of the most common myths that I hear is that only wealthy people hire financial advisors. And I want to say that is far from the truth. I have a lot of clients we wouldn't consider wealthy that are hiring us to answer some of the key questions they have. And number one question most people have, am I on track? And if I'm not, what do I need to do to get on track? And if you just think about that question from an investor standpoint, wealthy people aren't asking, am I on track? They know they're wealthy. Arguably, the individual that needs a lot of planning help is the individual who's not wealthy. They need to figure out what they need to do. Wealthy people know they're good. Yeah, there's fine tuning and all these other things that wealthy people can do, but it's not to get on track.
It's more critical for people probably mass affluent or moderate wealth to hire a planner and delegate that and get help. Because typically that's, okay, who would that be? Let's ask that question. Who would that be? That's someone who's achieved some level of financial independence, most likely through saving their money and investing in their 401k plan or IRAs, whatever vehicles that they were using to do that. And a lot of times the accumulation part is kind of the easier part, right? Most people know how to put money into the 401k, and you're limited on investment choices. So you're just going to select what's in there. What we see a lot with people are coming to us to help them transition to retirement, help them spend the money, define how you should invest while you're retired and spending the money. But this myth that only wealthy people hire financial planners, I think that's a myth. For one, you made a good point. Very wealthy people, they already know that they have enough money. They have enough assets. Like, they might need some risk management strategies and there might be things that they view as valuable. I also don't want younger investors to think that they don't have enough money to work with a financial planning firm. Now, it's possible you may not have enough money to work with every firm out there. There are firms that have account minimums, right? Because they only want to work with people if they have X amount of dollars, whatever they've defined for themselves. One thing I would challenge people that think financial planners are only for wealthy is how many people, if they hire a firm before they're 30 and they do at least a basic level of financial planning, figure out how to get out of debt, how to save and invest their money at appropriate rates, how many people that do that end up destitute when they're 60 years old, or end up 60 and, I can't retire. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to work forever. I don't think there's very many examples of that out there. I think most people working with financial planners probably hit their goals at higher success rates, I would assume.
If they take the advice and execute the plan, they will, because that's why you lay a plan out. It's kind of like sports. The teams that win have the best game plan. I mean,
typically, best game plan. They
sometimes
execute
they have
the
better
fundamentals
players.
The best.
When you get to the high level, the NFL, Major League Baseball, all those things, NBA, talent kind of matters, but everybody's good. It's really about the strategy. And if you execute the strategy and you stay diligent, it will work out. I think that was a really good insight that you made. The young people who do this and get advice likely have better outcomes in the future.
I think the pro sports is a good analogy. Those teams, the difference between the Super Bowl in football, the difference between the Super Bowl champion and the worst team in the league, it's not a huge talent gap. The champion versus the worst record in the league, they don't have 25 superior players as compared to the worst team. But what they do have is typically better strategies, make less mistakes, execute the basics correctly. That's typically the difference for that. That's the fine line.
High school sports might even be a better analogy.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you have these high school coaches that just win. And I think in high school sports, coaching a lot of the times is a differentiator. You might get the year where you have the one just superstar athlete or the 3 or 4 guys that are just wildly good. But not every year in a high school program do you have the best talent in the area or in the state. And the guys who can win, and we've watched them, and we're in Iowa. There's some Iowa football coaches that they just flat out win. Doesn't matter who's on the team, they're going to win. That's all strategy and execution.
Yeah, it's the same. It's not surprising, the same teams. There are some programs that, whether it's football, basketball, other sports, consistently winning, consistently in the state tournament too, because they're the best at executing the fundamentals and they eliminate mistakes. And in sports, okay, if you got what's the best way to be the best team? Well, you got the best players. So you could still have the best players and not have the outcome you want if you don't execute the basic things required.
So I saw this in real life last year. I had the opportunity with LPL to go to Duke University for a corporate training. We got to spend a day at Indoor Cameron Arena, which is the Duke Blue Devils, the place they play. And when you go in and look at the fundamentals that Coach Krzyzewski put in place and how he handled the program, you start to realize why they're so good. Just all of the little
Are
things that
there
they're
a few
doing.
key things? Just are there a few core values or a few core concepts that they really hammer on that?
Yeah, there's 5 of them, and I would love to tell you I remember, but there's like 5 core concepts that they key in on. You know, it's like communication, teamwork, and like they build on these core competencies. Every single team believes in the same thing. And you go there, and I walked out, I'm like, all right, I know why these guys win. It's organized, it's executed. They've been doing it for decades. It's a legacy. It's not optional. Somebody asked the athletic director, you know, if someone comes here and doesn't buy into this, you know, what happens? And she said they don't last here very long.
It's not an optional buy-in.
It's not optional buy-in.
You either
And
buy in or you don't.
I think what was really unique about it, it's not the coaches that are requiring the buy-in. Like they're guiding it. The other teammates have bought in. So if you don't buy in, you're not going to last long. But not many programs are like that. In fact, I was watching Arizona State. That's coached by Bobby Hurley, who used to play for Duke. And you know what I wondered? I'm like, man, I wonder if he's using the same principles that he learned at Duke with this program. I should get it out because it actually is, they're really good principles. But it just goes back to pure execution.
I'm sure he is. Him and his brother could use a little more, help with their communication with the officiating
They
staffs.
like to get
I've
mad.
noticed.
They like to get mad.
Dude, Dan Hurley.
He got a T the other
absolutely.
night, right?
He got ejected too. And then he tried to act like it wasn't a big deal and he didn't do anything that bad.
Yeah, he did. I don't know what it was, but it was probably pretty bad to get ejected. He said the wrong thing to the wrong person.
Yes, and he was talking an inch away from the guy's face. What do you think was going to happen? The official. You're going to scream at him an inch away from his face. And then in the press conference, he goes, oh, well, he said I bumped him. I don't think I bumped him, but he said I bumped him. He doesn't care if you bumped him. He kicked you out because you were being a jerk.
Yeah. The number 2 myth that is gaining traction is that AI financial advice is enough. And here's what I would tell people today. AI is a tool. AI is not perfect. I have tried AI with so many different things. There are some things it does really good. AI can make you more efficient, but AI is not a place to go get your financial advice from.
I don't think it can replace personalized advice from a human advisor that you have a good relationship with. I'm sure you can ask it basic questions and it can give you pretty good answers. I'm sure there's people out there that are equipped and they're do-it-yourself investor. They really enjoy doing it. Maybe AI helps them a little bit. But I don't think we have any clients, and if we do, it's not very many, that, well, I would rather get advice from AI than continue to work with Premier Investments. I just don't view that as a risk to the company. I don't think AI financial advice is going to replace human interaction. I don't think people, when it comes to their money, want to work with a robot. I don't think they ever will.
I can prove it. I'm going to go through the list. In 2000, everybody's going to do this themselves and be a day trader. It's when E-Trade came out, all these big platforms, going to be a day trader. Don't need financial advisors anymore. Well, that didn't happen. Remember in 2016, 17, 18, robo-advisors. We're just going to go do robo-advisors. And every company, Vanguard, Fidelity's of the world, everybody rolled out a robo-advisor. Did it for you, automated it. Most of those failed. Most of those now are third-party asset managers because the client acquisition cost was too high. And this is going to be the same way. People still want to deal with people. And it's not that AI can't help you. It's that somebody still has to interpret the data. Somebody has to take the data and act on it. So I was thinking about it before we did the show. You go to AI and you say, what do I do with my 401k? It says, oh, you roll it over to self-directed brokerage account, blah, 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 whatever. Well, who's going to make the phone call? Who's going to make sure it was done correctly? Is AI going to do it for you? No. Well, if you mess up on the rollover, what happens? Taxable. Do most people have confidence that they can execute that rollover call correctly? No. Very few. There's a few people who probably think they can do it, and they probably can. Most people would be so intimidated to make the phone call because it could get messed up, and the tax implications are really bad if you do it wrong. Robo's here to help, AI is here to complement what we're doing. We use AI in our practice almost every day. Is it replacing us? No. What it's doing is making us more efficient, more thorough, and better outcomes for clients, but it's not replacing us. And the third myth that I totally think people get wrong is a lot of people believe that getting financial advice is time consuming and stressful. If you're going to get a financial plan done and you're going to sit down and get some high level of guidance, yes, there will be a time commitment, but likely it's less than 5 hours of time. That would be on the high end. That's meetings and everything to get this done. So 5 hours. So if somebody sees 5 hours as a negative barrier to get some guidance, probably need to reevaluate where you're spending your time.
That's where I was going to go with my comments is time consuming. That seems a little strong. Is there a time commitment? Yes. How much time do we all spend planning our vacations throughout the year?
Well, I can tell you,
planning our time off.
I spend 2 to 4 hours on my phone a day.
Oh, because the phone tells you.
Tracks it. Now, some of it's work, but in general, I'm spending 2 to 4 hours. And of real work, how much is the real work?
Right.
How much? 25%?
Okay.
Like 25%?
Yeah, even
maybe?
just beyond that. How much time do we all spend watching TikTok reels?
It's because that time goes really fast. It's addicting.
Right.
And when you have to go meet with a financial advisor, get some documents together, just seems like it takes forever because it's not what you want to do. It's just one of the necessary things people should be doing.
So time consuming, I do agree that that's a myth. I don't think it's time consuming. At the end of the day, does it amount to some level of time and energy? Of course it does. Everything does. Just I took a phone call the other day from younger clients that we work with. They're sold their house, buying a different house. They're taking some of the proceeds of the sale to build a garage because the house they're buying, the garage needs replaced. So all they really wanted to do was talk on the phone. It was like a 10-minute conversation. They wanted to talk through the scenario and make sure what they were doing and the way they were thinking about it was in their best interest for short-term and long-term. Right? That's really what they wanted. They wanted me to build their confidence in the decision. So did that cost them some time? Yeah, it was about 10 to 15-minute phone conversation. Was that a valuable use of their time to get a little bit of advice? And I didn't really even end up giving them that much advice, but reassurance that what they're doing is good for them to do and this is what they should do. I think that was time well spent for them. So yeah, was that a little bit time consuming? It was. The other thing, and it also says and stressful. Here's what, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Here's what I think is stressful about getting financial advice. I think it's the beginning. I think making the first step to call, set a meeting, I'm sure that is stressful. I bet it's stressful if you're 55 or 60 years old, or even if you're 25, to call and make an appointment to then, because you know what you're coming here to talk about, your goals and the things that are on your mind. I'm sure that is stressful at the beginning.
I think you're right. I think that's probably the most stressful and anxious time. I think people's anxiety kicks in and they're like, man, I don't know if I really want them to know where I'm at. I don't know if I really want to know how bad it is or how good it is. I equate it to the doctor. Every time I have to go to the doctor, my anxiety level goes up because I don't want to hear anything bad that I'm doing.
And you certainly don't want to disclose it to them.
Right. And it's exactly the same thing with money. Nobody wants to disclose the bad habits they have or how they overspent on this. And, they don't want to do that. So their anxiety level goes high. You're probably exactly right. The most stressful part is getting started. Once you get into it, I've had very few people in the process that say this is stressful. I think you hit on the head. Stress is all up front. It should relieve your stress over time. Like, maybe stressful to execute the plan, but at least you know where you stand. Like, if someone met with me, if I took my stuff to somebody, a non-biased third-party advisor, and said, run a plan on me, and they told me I wasn't on track, that wouldn't stress me out. That would motivate me to fix the problem. But what would stress me out is if I didn't think I was on track, just having to go find somebody and disclose everything to them. Oh yeah, I bought this. That was dumb. Or I bought that. Well, that was dumb. Like, people don't want to feel dumb, right? And we all buy and do silly things, but in general, people don't want to be in a situation where they feel dumb.
We all avoid at some level whether it's a real mistake or perceived mistake. And that's probably one of the stressful things is you might think some of the decisions you could have made better would be highlighted in a financial planning process or exercise. And I have had people comment on it's probably anxiety or stress of the situation at the beginning of the relationship, which we also require people to give us a lot of information. So I'm sure that's not the most stress-free exercise, right? Like just to just even start to understand how we can help someone. Well, they answer a booklet of questions and they bring in all their statements and you're essentially disclosing your entire financial picture to someone that maybe we knew each other before. A lot of times we didn't. I can see why that would be stressful.
We likely take that for granted because we see financial documents of people every day.
Yeah.
But the thought of, hey, I need to bring them my tax return, my paycheck stubs, all my statements, like there's got to be a level of anxiety turning that over to somebody.
I would think.
Another thing you mentioned earlier in the show is that many times people come to us in transitionary periods of life. I mean, they're going from the accumulation phase to the distribution phase. And one of the big times people come to us or have questions is regarding Social Security. And I spent a lot of time on MSN. I think they have good articles. And there was actually a little article that came out regarding 3 little known Social Security rules that everybody should know. And I thought we just hit those quick to end the show. And these are some of the things that we help people with. But one of the major rules is there's a length of marriage rule for spousal benefits on Social Security. And anybody is free to claim Social Security after you turn 62, but that's not true necessarily for spousal benefits. Generally, you have to have been married to that partner for at least a year if you've been married later in life. So if you get the bright idea you're going to marry someone, hurdle. It's a small hurdle, but you should know that. The second one, though, a lot of people don't know. You may be eligible to claim on an ex-spouse's record, even if you're divorced.
And what allows you to do that?
Been married 10 years. If you're married 10 years, you likely can claim on your ex-spouses with the caveat you can't remarry.
Once you're remarried, you're going to spousal benefits.
Well, you can't claim on your previous spouse.
Right.
Once you get remarried, you can't claim on your ex-spouse's benefits.
So it's the rules are have to be married 10 years.
Yep.
And then you're divorced. You can claim on their benefits as long as you don't ever get remarried.
Right. If you remarry, you have to claim after a year, you have to claim on that spouse's benefit or your own.
And does that work? Is it something like if it's a higher amount, like, or is it in addition to?
No, higher amount. It's not in addition to.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's either going to be the benefit you've accumulated or some spousal divorce benefit.
Correct.
Whichever amount's higher. And does it take away anything from the ex-spouse?
No, doesn't affect them in any way.
Right. So their check just remains the way it is. So if you were listening and you're thinking, oh man, my ex-spouse is going to be able to take away some of my Social Security, that's not true. They'll have some benefit for themselves, but it does not take away from your own benefit.
Correct. And the last one people should be aware, if you claim early, claim your Social Security early, it reduces the survivor benefits your family's eligible for. So if you claim early and you take a reduced benefit, it permanently reduces any survivor benefits that are available for your family. And this is the reason that some people will delay Social Security. A lot of times when we look at Social Security, we're not always looking at how do we maximize it, because maximizing Social Security is almost like fool's gold. You have to know exact day when someone's going to die to maximize it. So we look at maximizing differently. How do we maximize protection for the family? So if we have a husband and wife and one has a significantly higher Social Security check, we might delay that person until they're 70 if it works in the plan, just to make sure when one of those spouses dies, they keep the higher of the check. So just remember, if you take it at 62, it's permanently reduced. It's not going up for you or your survivor.
So this is a little bit of a sidebar, but this is a Social Security question. It's in addition to these three things. A lot of younger people will ask us about, hey, Social Security, do you think it's going to be there? Do you want to touch on how younger people could think about their Social Security or plan for it? When I say younger, about people under 45, under 50.
Let's use under 45.
Okay.
That's a good number. There will be some form of Social Security. What that is, I don't know. We'll probably know closer to 2032. Because that's right now, I think that's still the date where it's projected that if there's no legislation passed, Social Security becomes insolvent. And I think it's a scheduled 22% cut across the board for all participants. If they do that, then it's going to be all shored up. So there will be some type of Social Security benefit in the future. I just don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Okay. If I was a 35-year-old and I was using Social Security in my financial plan, pretty simple. Just reduce the benefit 25%. See what happens. But here's what's ironic. Most 35-year-olds that we're working with, they're not even utilizing Social Security in their situation.
Almost all of my younger families, the minimum we reduce on the benefit is 25%. Most of the time we just end up reducing it 100%. So they're planning to not have it.
And this goes back to a little bit of my question I always ask young people. Well, how much is your Social Security benefit? Well, I don't know. The only way a young person is going to know is if they log into the Social Security website to go look up their benefit.
I should do that.
If they
I'm
have
going to log in and figure mine out. So then the next time you ask me that, I can say, no.
You have no idea, do you? You have no idea.
No, I've never looked because it's
So if you don't know
too far down the road, it doesn't really matter to me today.
So if you don't know what your benefit is and they reduce your benefit 25%, do you know and do you care?
I might go look at that point.
But you won't know. Like if you don't
know. But I'll know there was a reduction.
How would you know if you hadn't checked? If all of a sudden you just woke up one day and you logged in and they'd already made a reduction to your benefit and you didn't know, it wasn't in the news, you would know. You'd be like, oh man, I get $2,000 a month, even though it used to be $2,500. I'm getting $2,000 or whatever the number is. I believe.
Are there previous statements on there?
Be pretty easy to not. Oh, we only have an annual.
Yeah.
It's a government. They can do whatever they want. And I'm not saying they're doing that. I just think it's ironic that nobody under 40 knows what their benefits are. Back to your question. How would I plan for it? I'd just take a 25% reduction or not plan for it at all. In my family, we don't utilize it. We don't plan on it. It's going to be the gravy. I know it's there, but we're not going to plan to use it.
You will use it once you start getting it.
Yeah, well, maybe. Because another thing they can do, they can means test if you make too much. True. If you make too much income. So if I keep working, it might not be worth it.
There probably is a segment of people out there that get Social Security and don't need it.
There's a massive.
But of course, you're gonna take that over spending your own money. But there's people that don't need it.
No, and there's loopholes that could be eliminated. Let's just think about the spousal benefit. So let's say you have a person who made $1 million a year for 25 years. They're going to get a maximum Social Security check, call it $4,000 a month. Wife never worked. Wife's eligible for $2,000 too. Half of theirs. So that's $6,000, even though she's never earned a dime.
Right.
Never paid into. I shouldn't say never earned, because likely did stuff at the house, was CEO of the home, did a whole bunch of work behind the scenes.
Right.
But
was
they
not
never
doing
paid into
work
Social
that would
Security.
pay into Social Security.
So in that scenario, let's say this family has $1 million of income in retirement. I kind of see the spousal benefit as a little bit of a loophole. But you didn't pay it in, didn't pay anything in. You're making $1 million a year, and you're going to take $24,000 a year out.
Do they really need the 24,000?
Well, I think the question is,
I'd be happy to take it.
The question is, should they really be receiving the 24,000
on the spousal benefit?
If you're making $1 million a year?
Probably not.
You know, it's a lot of extra money that, just think about the
You should get a benefit based on what you paid in, right? Which
Right.
You're not saying that.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you didn't pay anything in. And whether if someone disagrees, let us know. I just don't know if, just think about the stress in the system. It's a person getting the maximum check, so they get the maximum spousal benefit available, and the spouse didn't pay in. And honestly, if you're making $1 million, you need it the least. That's a stress in the system that happens every single day. So those are some of the changes I think. I think you could see means testing for Social Security, especially means testing on the spousal benefit, or you could see a reduction. I also think here's the other thing that could happen, Elias. When Social Security came out, life expectancy was like 65 years old. Well, life expectancy today is 84. We could start pushing back the ages when people could claim. And if you make people wait longer, it keeps the system solvent longer. You know, if you're 30, maybe they push back your earliest commencement date to 65 years old, and full retirement's at 70, and your maximum check's at 72. Like, there's a lot of ways and levers to pull it. Unfortunately, the way our government's set up today, I don't think any politician wants to pull any of the levers, because the levers are not going to be popular with anybody. There's going to be a segment of people who are disappointed with how things turn out. It's impossible to fix this problem and have everybody be happy.
That's it right there. There's no solution that's going to keep everyone happy. No matter what solution they come out with, they're going to get hammered on.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. There'll be a certain percentage of the population that hammers on them. Some people think, oh, this is a good solution. This is what should happen. There'll be a lot of people, only an idiot would do it this way. So it's
half the people are going to be happy and half are going to be mad. Kind of how America works.
Hopefully, or hopefully, or everyone's going to be mad, or everyone's going to be disappointed. Who knows?
Well, here's what I know: they can't just pull it away. We already have a retirement crisis. Like, most people don't have a whole lot saved. For the average house in America, that Social Security check is their largest check by a long shot. You know,
it can't disappear.
You look at it. You look at a household. A lot of households are getting $4,000 to $6,000 a month. If they didn't have the $4,000 to $6,000 a month, they couldn't keep it going, because they don't have $1 million and $1.5 million portfolio to get that. And they paid in. Let's be honest. If you paid in 7% of your paycheck for your entire life, you should get a pretty good benefit. And it's actually 15% was paid in between you and your employer. So you start doing the math on that.
Yeah, if you do your 401k and instead of paying to Social Security, you put in another 15% because you're required to. Think what that could do.
On top of your 5, that's 20%. Most people wouldn't need Social Security.
Right.
Now, Social Security program is for more than just a retiree benefit. So we're kind of short-sighted looking at that. But that's what I think. I think there will be changes to the system. I think if you're under 40, just ignore it. I mean, just pretend it doesn't exist. You're going to have to save more, but guess what? In 20 plus years of doing this, Elias, Never had someone come in my office and tell me they wish they would have saved less.
I doubt you're ever going to hear that.
I don't think so. I think with that, I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. If you have any questions you want answered on air, please reach out and let us know. If you want any help sitting down with an advisor, talking about your plan, help with Social Security advice, go to btwellshow.com. We'd be happy to get that to you, get you connected with one of our advisors. I wish everybody have a fun and safe spring break. Elias, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you for listening. We appreciate it.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Premier Investments and Wealth Management and LPL Financial do not provide tax advice. Please consult your tax professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. There's no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure a profit or protect against loss. All performance referenced is historical and is not a guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure a profit or protect against loss. Dollar cost averaging involves continuous investment in securities regardless of fluctuations in price levels. Investors should consider their ability to continue purchasing through periods of low price levels. Such a plan does not assure a profit and does not protect against loss in declining markets. A plan participant leaving an employer typically has 4 options and may engage in a combination of these options, each choice offering advantages and disadvantages. Those options include leave the money in their former employer's plan if permitted, roll over the assets to their new employer's plan if one is available and rollovers are permitted, roll over to an IRA, or cash out the account value. Consult your tax professional about eligibility to Roth and traditional IRA contributions. Contributions and earnings in a Roth IRA can be withdrawn without paying taxes and penalties if the account owner is at least 59.5 and has held their Roth IRA for at least 5 years. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of the conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA.